Very good evening from the University of Birmingham, where the third and final prime ministerial debate has just ended. A debate dominated by combative exchanges on immigration, on the state of the economy and on bankers' bonuses. Time and again, Gordon Brown, David Cameron and Nick Clegg directly challenged each other's views. We'll have the early reaction and we'll be analysing key parts of the debate. But first, our political editor, Nick Robinson, reports on the exchanges.
One last debate, one more week, one final chance to speak directly to millions of voters who've yet to make up their minds.
The leader of the Conservative Party, David Cameron, the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Nick Clegg, and the leader of the Labour Party, Gordon Brown.
On the night after the disaster before, the Prime Minister began with a plea to focus not on him, but on the theme of tonight's debate, the economy.
There's a lot to this job, and as you saw yesterday, I don't get all of it right. But I do know how to run the economy in good times and in bad. So it's not my future that matters, it's your future that's on the ballot paper next Thursday. And I'm the one to fight for your future.
We need to do things differently to build a new, stronger and fairer economy. The way they got us into this mess is not the way out. So we need to be frank about the cuts that will be needed. We have to rediscover our passion for innovation, for building things, not just placing bets on the money markets.
Our economy is stuck in a rut, and we need change to get it moving. Let me tell you what I would do. First, we've got to reward work and tackle welfare dependency. Second, we've got to fix our banks, tax them to get our money back, regulate them properly, and get them lending again. Third, we've got to start making things again in this country.
The first question asked for more detail on how they'd cut spending. Again and again, Gordon Brown attacked David Cameron, warning that his plans would shrink the economy. Again and again, the Tory leader refused to engage, claiming this was desperate stuff from a desperate man.
What David would do in an emergency budget in a few weeks' time is, for ideological reasons, take £6 billion out of the economy and put our recovery at risk. The time to do the deficit reduction is when the recovery is assured. And David, you've just got it wrong economically, and it's the same mistake the Conservatives made, the same old Conservative Party of the 1930s, the 1980s and the 1990s.
David Cameron?
It is every business leader, every leading business leader is saying that we have got it right and the government going on wasting money is wrong. But let me tell you where I think we should start. We should start with welfare. Under this government, there are now 5 million people on out-of-work related benefits. There are people who could work, who we'd train and offer work. But we should say in our country, if you don't accept work, you can't go on claiming benefits.
Can I just try and move beyond this sort of political point scoring? I mean, we're not going to be able to fill the black hole in our public finances unless we also do it with fairness, right at the heart of everything we do. People aren't going to accept these difficult decisions unless we also do it fairly. That's what I think, accompanying the difficult job of actually filling the structural deficit. We also need to introduce a big tax switch so that people on ordinary incomes, on low incomes, get a tax break, £700 back in their pockets, so they don't pay any income tax on the first £10,000 they've earned.
Next, it was tax. The Prime Minister condemning both his rivals for proposing to cut child tax credits and the Tories for their proposal to cut inheritance tax.
We have fought hard for a long time to make sure that we can give children and families decent incomes. The Liberals will cut the child tax credits, and so will the Conservatives. The Conservatives want to save £400 million, the Liberals £1.2 billion.
People can remember the record of 13 years. They remember who it was who abolished the 10p tax that hit some of the poorest people in the country the hardest. They remember the measly 75p increase on pensioners that Gordon Brown was responsible for. And let me say this, the whole reason we're having this debate about how difficult it is to get taxes down, how difficult it's going to be to cut spending, is because this Prime Minister and this government have left our economy in such a complete mess.
Taxes are unfair. We have a plan, we think it's a great plan, to switch taxes so that you get more money back in your pocket. That's what I think we need to do to make taxes fair.
Then it was to the issue which ignited yesterday on a street in Rochdale and ignited this debate, immigration.
Are the politicians aware that they've become removed from the concerns of the real people, especially on immigration? And why don't you remember that you are there to serve us, not ignore us.
Gordon Brown.
The reason I want to be in politics is to create jobs. And when it comes to immigration, I want to see a situation where we increase the number of jobs that people trained in Britain can take as we lower the numbers of people coming into this country. And that's why we have banned unskilled workers from outside Europe from coming into Britain.
David Dimbleby reminded them of what the questioner had asked. They chose not to address it directly, but to attack each other's immigration policies.
This is an important issue, and people need to know what are in our manifestos. I've set out my policies, but people do need to know that the Liberal Democrats propose an amnesty for illegal immigrants. Now, that could mean that some 600,000 people who are here illegally would actually be allowed to stay here and be given full citizenship.
And let's just say, time and assume every time you talk about our policy, it's just wrong. What I'm saying is there is a layer of illegal immigrants who've been caused. We have to deal with it. We have to get them out of the hands of criminals. And you say numbers. Can you now tell me, am I right or wrong, that 80% of people who come here come from the European Union, and your cap would make no difference to that whatsoever? Is that right, yes or no?
We have said new EU countries should have transitional controls with the opportunity.
I just want a response, yes or no. Do 80% of immigrants come from the European Union, which wouldn't be affected by your cap? Yes or no?
It's affected by having transitional controls. Now, I've answered your question, you should answer mine.
And so the question which mainstream politicians have so long avoided arguing about in public exploded in this election. The final debate is now over. Another week of electioneering has yet to come. Many people have a decision to take. Nick Robinson, BBC News, Birmingham.
And Nick is with me here outside the Great Hall at the University of Birmingham, where the debate took place. Let's have an instant reaction and judgment, Nick. How do you think it went?
It was a debate. The first proper debate. They engaged with each other. They argued about policies. There was to and fro. I thought there was sharper, clearer, more passionate description of each other's policies, and you knew where these men, I think, were now coming from in a way that you didn't, frankly, as they were getting used to the format a couple of weeks ago. Gordon Brown passionately warning again and again that the country couldn't be trusted with these two inexperienced men, arguing that cuts were wrong and cuts to support for families in particular were wrong from both of them. David Cameron, I noticed, simply wouldn't engage with Gordon Brown. Wouldn't eye contact straight to the camera, didn't want to look at the Prime Minister, dismissed it as desperate stuff from a desperate man, and turned his fire on Nick Clegg, on the euro, on the immigration amnesty, on welfare benefits. Mr Clegg tried, as he did in the first debate, to say, look at the two of them there, and found that he was coming under fire. Flattery, that. No obvious winner, I think, from this, other than, forgive the pious thought, the public, because they don't know their policies now. They may never.
Nick, we'll talk to you again a little later on, but for now, thank you very much. Well, near the Great Hall here is the media centre. That's where the